I know it's against the status quo, but I'm honestly a big fan of Southwest. This is mainly due to their large footprint in my home airport in Austin, Texas, plus their low costs and free bag policy on top of the fact that they've literally never really done me wrong. Yes, it's annoying to check into your flight exactly 24 hours before it, like down to the second if you want even a decent seat, but I'd much rather do that than pay 50% more for basically the exact same flight, just on a different airline. Last year with my Southwest bookings, I got an average cent per point of 1.49 cents per point, which is not bad at all in my opinion. And if you're somebody looking to use your points in a similar fashion, well, you're in the right place. And if you're just here to hate on Southwest or hate on this type of point redemption, then maybe you're not in the right place. I really just want to break this video down into two main parts. First, I want to talk about the concept of why you would even want to do this in the first place. And then second, I'm going to be booking a flight with Southwest live and showing you exactly how I use my Chase Ultimate Rewards points to achieve that. So of course, let's start with the concept. I really want to make this video like as digestible as possible. I'm going to assume that you're somebody that hasn't even used your Chase points for any redemptions before, or definitely haven't used them with transfer partners before. So we're going to start at the ground level. And there's no better place to start than the idea of transfer partners. So here's exactly what those are and how you can expect them to work. Most of the big lenders out there, including Chase, Amex, Capital One, Citi, Bilt even, earn credit card points in what we call transferable currencies. So just as that name suggests, with those lenders, you can take the points that you earn on their credit cards and directly transfer those to specific airline and hotel partners. And each lender has a different list of airline and hotel partners that they do partner with. These transfers that you do, you can kind of think of them as just like point conversions. So if I have Chase Ultimate Rewards points and I need Southwest points, Southwest is a transfer partner of Chase, so I can convert my Chase Ultimate Rewards points to Southwest points and use those to book any flights directly with Southwest. Same thing applies across the board, and also note that you cannot transfer the points back from Southwest, so once you make that transfer, it is final. Now, why would you want to do this rather than just like booking through a portal or by paying cash for the flight or what have you? And the first big reason is because by using points, you can oftentimes find much better deals than you can in cash form. Like for example, I mentioned earlier, my average cent per point value with Southwest last year was 1.49. So that's one big reason that it's a plus to do this. But the second one is because, as I'll discuss a little bit later too, if I was to book, say, a Southwest flight through the Chase portal, if I needed to cancel that booking, I would have to do so with Chase. And a lot of times they're not going to give you a refund, and it's just going to be a much bigger headache if you book through a travel portal rather than booking directly with the airline who can actually help you out. Again, this is not specific to Southwest, but applies to any transfer partner with really any lender. Going back to the cent per point values real quick, I want to mention that in general, if you book any trips using either cashback that you redeemed from your cards or through the travel portal without the Chase Sapphire Preferred, Sapphire Reserve, or Chase Ink Preferred, with Chase, you also have like the Bilt card that gives you a boost on your points through their travel portal, but different story. You're only going to get 1 cent per point. With the Chase Sapphire Preferred through the travel portal, you'll get 1.25 cents per point. With the Chase Sapphire Reserve, you'll get 1.5 cents per point. That's just through the travel portal though. Cashback is always 1 cent per point with Chase, and just leave it at that. But with their transfer partners, you can get upwards of 2, 5, 10 cents per point if you transfer out to the correct partners and find the right itinerary. But now zooming back into Southwest specifically, I would expect that you get an average value of 1.4 to 1.5 cents per point. I say all that though to paint the picture of why transfer partners are so valuable. You can think of cashback and travel portal redemptions as being fixed value redemptions, and think of transfer partner redemptions as being basically uncapped value redemptions. I also want to mention here before we get into the example that every single transfer partner is going to give you a different value for your points. And further than that, like I just kind of alluded to, every itinerary is going to give you a different value for your points. So to get those really, really high cent per point values, which you're not going to get through Southwest, Southwest is basically a fixed value redemption. You'll have to be very flexible with your travel dates, and also, maybe have to look at business class or first class flights and find award availability that way, or find like a points calendar with the hotel you want to book with and try to just find the cheapest set of dates you can book as possible. So it does get a little bit complicated, but again, that's not going to directly apply to our example today. I just wanted to give you a brief overview of transfer partners in general. With Chase specifically, the best way you're going to get value from your points is going to be by transferring out to Hyatt on the hotel side. Hyatt is really the best hotel transfer partner out there, at least their points are the most valuable. And then on the airline side, you're really not going to do much better with domestic flights than you will with the Southwest redemption like we'll be talking about here today. But for international flights, that's where you really get a ton of value. That's where the 2, 5, 10 cent per point redemptions actually come from. So while I personally use like all of my Chase points for Hyatt and Southwest bookings, if you're somebody that travels a lot more internationally, you may want to save your points and pay for your domestic trips, for example, in cash, to then use those points for much higher redemption rates with your international flights that you'll be booking. But it all just depends on how you travel. And lastly, before we get into the process of this booking, do some research before you transfer your points to specific transfer partners, because while you will get a 1-to-1 transfer rate from, say, Chase to Marriott, what you may not realize is that Marriott points are worth less than 1 cent per point, say like 0.8 cents per point, which means that you're making your Chase Ultimate Reward point worth less than 1 cent per point when in reality, most people give them an average value of 2 cents per point, which means you're doing way worse than you should be by transferring to Marriott rather than another partner. That might have been too much information for this video because we're doing just a very specific thing here. But for those of y'all that are watching this and are new to the points and miles game, maybe that'll give you a little bit of excitement and you can go watch some of my other videos and see how you can make those cooler redemptions happen. So speaking of getting excited about the points and miles game, if you do follow that path, eventually you're probably going to get to the point where you have multiple credit cards from a few different lenders and are going to need a way to manage that all in one place. And personally, I use an app called Max Rewards to do this for myself. Max Rewards is an all-in-one credit card management app that allows you to track things like your total point balances, card balances, bill due dates, and more from basically every lender, all in one convenient interface. And as someone on team travel, I know that credit cards can get expensive really quick, at least the annual fees on our travel credit cards. And one new tool that Max Rewards has released for its paid tier called Max Rewards Gold is something called Card Value that I think can be really valuable for everybody. What it does is basically show you exactly how much value you've gotten from your card in your card member year, as well as your calendar year, to help you decide whether or not you should keep, downgrade, or cancel that credit card in the next year. Max Rewards Gold also automatically activates your quarterly rotating categories for you on your cards like your Chase Freedom Flex, and will automatically activate all of your credit card offers for you as well, which will add to your card value tab, like I mentioned earlier, and help you just make more back from the card that you maybe wouldn't have before. Of course, Max Rewards has a ton of free features like all of the tracking things I mentioned before, including trackers for your welcome bonus spending requirements. So even if you just want to try out the free features of Max Rewards, please be sure to download it through the link in my description. And if you enter the promo code Spencer whenever you sign up for the app, you'll get a 1-month discount on your annual Max Rewards Gold subscription if you do ever decide to upgrade. Thank you to Max Rewards for sponsoring this video, as always, but let's get back to the content. Okay, so now that we have the process understood and we know why exactly we want to do this in the first place, I'm gonna go ahead and walk y'all through a live example of a trip that I actually need to book like as soon as possible at the time we're recording this, because prices are only going up from here considering the trip is like 2 weeks away. But overall, there are two main ways that I would look to book Southwest flights. And if you're watching this video, then I know that you want to book Southwest flights. Yes, there are better ways to use your Chase points, but for me, as somebody that flies with Southwest, getting 1.4 to 1.5 cents per point through Southwest is definitely not bad. But the two ways that you can book Southwest flights with Chase points are going to be 1, by transferring your Chase points to Southwest, or 2, by booking flights through Chase's travel portal. But I would only recommend doing that if you have the Chase Sapphire Preferred or Reserve. And honestly, if you have the Chase Sapphire Preferred, I would definitely recommend transferring out first. But if you have the Reserve, you do get 1.5 cents per point guaranteed through their portal with the same Southwest flights that you'll probably be able to find through Southwest website. And in that case, maybe you would want to use the portal to book, but I personally would suggest that you don't. I would still transfer your points over to Southwest. And the main reason for that is because whenever you're booking directly with an airline, you don't have to deal with any annoyances of maybe having to cancel the flight, because as you may know if you've used any travel portals before, most of the trips that you're booking are non-refundable. And even if you did want to try to get it refunded, you would have to go through Chase to do so, not just through Southwest. They would just direct you to Chase, because when you book through the portal, Southwest is basically going to see that as like an Expedia booking, and they're not going to help you really at all. But when you book directly with them, they are very helpful, and you can actually cancel your booking no problem, specifically with Southwest, and use credits for that flight for the future and stuff like that. Hence why even if you only got 1.4 cents per point through Southwest website, but you got 1.5 with your Chase Sapphire Reserve, I would take a 0.1 cent per point hit in order to have all of those conveniences of booking directly with the airline. But with all that being said, let's go ahead and take a look at my screen here. The first place that I come, since I know I'm going to be flying with Southwest for this trip, is of course the Southwest website. The trip that I need to book is a trip to Denver from Austin, Texas, which departs on May 3rd and returns on May 6th. And I'm going to show you how you can actually calculate the cent per point for this exact booking, because every booking is going to be a little bit different, but we're going to calculate that for ourselves and just make sure that we're getting a pretty good deal. Also, in my experience with Southwest, if they have any like big sale going on, like this one, for example, at the top, you can get one way for as low as $49 from Houston Hobby, Texas. If there's a massive discount on that flight in cash form, you're also going to have that same discount in point form. So another reason why I really like Southwest. But we're going to start this search by searching in dollar form first, so we can just see the prices on it. Once I click search, it's going to allow us to filter out the exact flights we want. I personally know that Austin to Denver is really easy to find nonstop flights, so I'm going to go ahead and filter by those. And you can see here that there's already some that are only, one left on the entire flight, and that's because I'm booking so close to the time I need to go. But I'm always going to choose the cheapest one I can at the times that I want to fly. I know that I don't need to get in until pretty late on Friday for this trip. So instead of booking, this this 5:15 a.m. flight for cheap, I'm going to find the next best option, which would be 6 to 7:25 p.m. And that's only $130. So I'm going to go ahead and book that for that leg, or select that. I'm not going to book in cash, but you get the point. Go to select next flight, filter by nonstop again. And this time I need to leave pretty early in the morning, but I don't want to leave at 5:10 or 6:35 a.m. I'd rather sleep a little bit. So I'm going to actually spend a little bit more money, $15 more, and fly out at 9:15 instead. And that's $145. Now this is without taxes and fees. So I'm going to click continue and see the total checkout screen. And here we go. As you can see here, the price per passenger, which is just one for me, is $227.69. That was the flat fare. Add in the taxes and fees of $47.28, and you come out to $274.97. So I'm going to go ahead and write that down here in my little notepad so I can keep that in mind. This is where I usually do all my Simpr point calculations when I'm booking trips, and this year I booked a lot of them, so I'm going to keep doing that. We're going to say Denver trip. We'll do cash equals 274.97. Okay, so we know the price of that one. That's going to help us calculate our Simpr point value. I'm going to go back to the main Southwest page and book the exact same flight, the same itinerary and everything. By the way, you can find your recent searches right here, so we're already set for this, but I'm going to change it to a point search instead. Now I'll go ahead and search and choose the exact same flights again. So filter by nonstop. I know I'm flying in 6 p.m. to 7:25, and as you can see, like I said, the points cost is going to be basically directly tied to the cash price. So these 8,871 point flights were the $130 flights from earlier. You can see that's consistent all the way through. So I know that I'm still getting the cheapest options by booking this way, but of course I would confirm with these Want to Getaway fares here. Also, I don't know about y'all, maybe let me know down below, but I have never booked any Business Select, Anytime, or Want to Getaway Plus flights with Southwest. I always just book Want to Getaway, and since you can like refund those and everything, I've just never had an issue with it. So that's what I keep doing. But 6 p.m. to 7:25 p.m. will be our first flight. Next flight, filter by nonstop again, and we know that I was going to do the 9:15 to 12:15 p.m. flight, and that's a little bit higher than that 8,871, but sitting at 10,029 points, so not too bad. Click continue, and we'll get to our final screen here where I can confirm all the details and just make sure that I'm getting a good Simpr point value. So just to make sure, once again, that I have the right flight booked, 6 p.m., 7:25 p.m. on Friday the 3rd, that's correct. Flying back on Monday morning at 9:15 a.m., get back at 12:15, that sounds right. Only 3 left on this flight. I think yesterday I checked this, it was at 7, so I need to book this really right now. But we know that the points cost, I'm going to write this down too, is 18,900 points plus $11.20 in taxes and fees. That's because each way is what, $560, and that's just the taxes that Southwest or any airline has to charge. I forget exactly what tax that is, but you're going to get charged it. And God forbid you book a Delta flight, because then you have way more taxes and fees. But jokes aside, I mean, I like Southwest. They're the cheapest option for me out of Texas, and particularly in Austin. So now to get the final Simpr point value for this booking, we can take the total cash price that this booking was, which was $274.97, subtract out $11.20 in taxes and fees that you would pay by booking in points specifically, and then you divide by the total point amount, which is 18,900, multiply by 100, and that gives me 1.395 cents per point, so 1.4 cents per point, which again is only 0.1 less than my Chase Sapphire Reserve would give me through their travel portal. I took a screenshot earlier of the Chase travel booking that would be basically the exact same as this one, so you can take a look at that. With this booking, I would only be paying a total of like 570 more points to book directly with Southwest. And again, for me, the convenience of being able to cancel, being able to do all of that stuff directly with Southwest and like earning, you know, flight segments and stuff like that with them, I would pay that extra 500 or whatever points all day long. Now, with that being done, I can go ahead and click continue because this is exactly what I want to book. And then here you can enter in all of your information. Make sure you put in your known traveler number 2 if you have TSA pre-check and all of that. Obviously, this is all going to be blurred for me, but that's where you would put that stuff. Also, down here on the bottom, you can put in your credit card that you want to use to pay the taxes and fees. Since I want the travel protections, I'll be using my Chase Sapphire Reserve, and I'm actually going to use Kudos, which they're not sponsoring this video, but I do actually use them to help me auto-fill in my information. I'm going to select my Chase Sapphire Reserve, see more, and then show my expiration and CVV. And I'm going to copy that CVV over to the screen here, which again should all be blurred out. And then I can come down to the bottom and purchase this. Before I do though, I'm going to come back up to the top and show you at the very top of the screen, I have 19,894 points in my account already. But if you did not have these points in your Southwest account, what you would do is go into your Chase account. If you do not have enough points on your Chase Sapphire Preferred or Reserve to transfer that amount that you need over to Southwest, you'll go down to the combine points feature, which I've shown in videos in the past and can maybe show up on screen here real quick for y'all, and then transfer over the exact amount of points you need to your card that can transfer out to Southwest, which is your Chase Sapphire card or your Chase Ink Preferred. And then you can go back to the top ribbon again on that card that can transfer out to Southwest, and then drop down to transfer points, go to your Southwest account, enter your Southwest number, connect them up, and then submit submit that transfer. For me, this maybe took like 30 minutes or something for the points to come through, but I went ahead and did this yesterday so I didn't have to go through that full process today and wait too long for it because I want to get this trip submitted as soon as possible. But that's exactly how you would do it if you needed those points in your account. Since I already have those, once again, can come down to the bottom and actually purchase this flight, which I'm going to do now. And there we go. I got a 1.4 cent per point valuation for those 18,900 points I needed to use to book this flight. And again, while that's not the best you can do with your Chase points, personally, I have found that using my Chase points with Hyatt and Southwest have been the best ways for me to use my points. That's all that matters. It doesn't matter if you don't fly with Southwest or if you don't use Hyatt hotels. That's what I use. So I'm going to use my points in that way to help me subsidize my travel costs. I do plan on using more of my Chase points in the future for different types of trips, especially international trips or by using airline alliances to book domestic flights. But whenever I just have a quick trip that I need to get on the calendar or get officially booked, Southwest has not really ever done me wrong personally, and I'm going to continue to use them because they just work so well out of my home airport. Now, all that's left to do is get to the airport a little bit early, head up to the Chase Sapphire Terrace Lounge in the Austin airport with my Chase Sapphire Reserve, and then get myself over to Denver, enjoy the Supercross race that's going on there. If you're a Supercross fan, let me know down below. But with all that being said, if you enjoyed this style of video, I would recommend checking out my point redemptions playlist that I'll link here for you, because there are a lot of different ways that I have used my points in the past, and I think you'd enjoy that. And as always, Odin and I both want to say thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you did enjoy it, please consider leaving a like and subscribing to the channel, and we'll catch you guys next time.